Very good evening to everyone. I extend a warm welcome on behalf of the Sol Foundation to everyone present here today for the Journey to the Road Safety webinar series on the theme of global issues on road safety. Let me kick off today's session with a brief introduction of Indian Road Safety Campaign, following which I will hand over the session to Mrs. Prerna Arora Singh. I request all the participants to post your questions in the chat box, which I will take up at the end. Indian Road Safety Campaign is an initiative of Sol Foundation working towards making the road safer in India. Started as a project at IIT Delhi due to the death of the students in a road accident, IRSC has gradually grown to be the largest youth-led organizations in India. IRSC has been working in close association with organizations such as UN, WHO, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and various state governments and other research centers across the world in its endeavor towards Vision Zero. To achieve this, IRSC has worked with over 1,500 colleges and 25,000 volunteers across 50 plus cities in India in various domains such as awareness, technical innovation, law, order, policy, medical, etc. Indian Road Safety Campaign has launched the Journey to the Road Safety webinar series to bring all the stakeholders of road safety in one platform where we try to spread awareness about the importance of road safety and protocols than what needs to assure. We are witnessing UN Global Road Safety Week from 17 to 23rd May with a vision of encouraging policymakers to act for low speed streets worldwide, limiting speeds to 30 kilometers per hour speed limit, where people and traffic mix make for the streets that are healthy, green, and livable. In other words, streets for life. IRSC also had the privilege to participate in the UN Global Road Safety Week in 2019. This year, we took an initiative from our end to promote the road safety, and we have a speaker, Mrs. Prerna Arora Singh, who will be sharing her thoughts on the global issues in road safety. Coming to our speaker for today, Mrs. Prerna Arora Singh, Chief Executive Officer for People Trust Consultant in the domain of road safety and post-crash care. She is also a board member of Global Alliance for NGOs for Road Safety in Switzerland. Being a road safety and post-crash care expert, she handled various government and non-government projects, including capacity building programs, national awareness campaigns such as helmet and seatbelt advocacy, scientific crash investigation training, teacher training on road safety, and black spot studies, etc., across pan-India level. She provides consulting services to Asian Development Banks and World Bank supported projects in India. She is doing her PhD in road safety management from Banasthali University, Rajasthan in India. Having more than a decade of road experience in the road safety and different aspects to it, it will be a boon to hear from her today. So now, without any further ado, I will hand over the session to Mrs. Prerna. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. You can turn on your video.
No, I have turned on video on the computer screen because I have connected with mobile also. So to speak on this. I'm audible?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Okay.
Yeah, please start.
So, okay. So thank you very much for inviting me on this great webinar for the, especially for the youth. And as you rightly said that we are observing UN Road Safety Week 2021, and today basically is the last day of that week. And what we are going to discuss about is global issues in road safety and why the Love 30 theme is taking care of across the globe and why everybody is focusing on that. So I'll focus on those issues, and I'll start from where like how it started across the globe and why it is necessary to work on road safety and what are the pillars. So that will be the my theme area for today's discussion. And is it okay to speak in both languages, Hindi and English, or you prefer any one language to speak on? Hello. Okay, English only. Okay, so I'll try to keep it in English only. So, can you go for a second slide? If we can start the presentation, if somebody is helping me there. Okay, so we all of us we know that globally road traffic injury is a major health issue because million of people are dying on global roads on in 1 year. And if you see the data, and you all are aware about that also, that more than 3,700 people are dying on global roads every single day. I'm not talking about the COVID situation because there are some mobility restrictions are there, so some that set has been down, but on across in general, and if we have a similar mobility which we had in 2019 and early January in 2020, this is the data where every day more than 300 700 people are dying on globally. And if we ask for the Indian roads, it's 425 plus people are dying every single day on Indian roads also. So this is a really a major health issue because that is the threat to the life directly on road. And besides the deaths, which the number which I'm counting, it's a major cause of disability among the people also, and especially in the youth, or aging from 18 years old to the 35 years old. So it is a very big, problem, a giant health issue among the youth and the earning people across the globe. So, and it also, as per the WHO predicted data, road traffic injury is going to be overtake to the HIV, AIDS, and other all different kind of health problems, and it is going to be our first issue which we have to tackle by 2030 if we are not going to work right now. So that is why it's the severity of the problem. So if we can go for the third slide. So why and when it is started, and why we are talking about the Love 30, the global perspective. So since 1997, if you have heard about the Vision Zero concept, that Vision Zero concept has been introduced in 1997 by the Sweden government, and that concept has clearly mentioned that it is possible to bring down the road deaths to the zero if we take some specific interventions in specific areas to make it possible. So their aim was to make the Vision Zero was so no one shall be killed or seriously injured within the road traffic system. So how it can be possible? So since 1997, several WHO, UN organization, and several other national organizations and national governments have taken some serious steps and follow some guidelines to get the results. So I focus on that. Go for the next slide, please. So after 1997, when Sweden has declared about the Vision Zero concept, WHO in 2004 has come up with some recommendations to be taken care of by all the member countries to focus on some specific interventions so that the accident can be, mitigate, or death and injuries can be reduced. So first of all, there was a problem before 2011 that who is responsible for road safety, because road safety is not a one organization or one department baby. It is a multi stakeholder problem because transport, police, enforcement, engineering, health, education, finance, insurance, many many organizations, and the community itself, drivers and road users. So everybody has a stake of road safety because everybody has a share to use road in some way or other way, and that is why all departments and corporates and community all are involved. So that was the problem, that who owns the responsibility at the first time. So WHO has recommended in 2004 that at least one lead agency, one nodal department has to be established somewhere in the organization in the country, that who is responsible and who is the person or organization who's coordinated among the all other NGOs or stakeholders to make some decisions and do some effective programs. So that was the very first recommendation of the WHO to develop or identify a lead agency. Then after this, identifying the lead agency in a road safety management perspective, it has to be identified that what are the main causes, what are the major specific causes or problems which are actually getting higher toll of death. We have thousands of problems on road, but some are the very concrete problems which are getting deaths on the roads. So that is why this for these to find out the problem and accordingly to set up the institutional setup to improve the situation. Then at least they have a national plan that how, if we identified the problem, then we have to develop a plan to resolve that on the ground. So that is why they recommended that at least first identify a lead agency first, then identify a local problems, what specific problem, a country specific problem you have, and then should be developed a national plan or strategy to mitigate that problem. And then to mitigate that problem, you must have the financial and resources and capacity and technology to deal with to implement that plan on the ground. And then do some post management care also, because hospitalization and giving the first aid and medical relief is also a part of the road safety scenario. It's not a segregated part, it's very much involved in the same process. So that is how they have developed this. They have come up with this six interventions or recommendation which has to be adopted. Next slide, please. But if you can you so okay, I'll see that from. But there are so many challenges to mitigate that recommendation on the ground at implementation level. The most important, for especially among the middle income or low income countries, specific to, if we can say, the Asian region, there continuous growth, human population. We have highest human population. Even India contributes only 1% of vehicle population, but the 11% of the death toll on roads. So that is the challenge for Indian government if we ask for the Indian perspective. And then the road engineering problem, we don't have roads with safer safety aspects, we don't have roads to inculcate or include all the road users like pedestrians, we don't have proper footpaths to segregate the pedestrian. And the dilemma is in Indian roads is that we have a population of vehicles. Among that, we have a 74% of two-wheeler riders on road, but we do not have a simple single lane for two-wheeler riders. We have we have just single black roads for everybody can use that road and whatever way they want to do use. And that is why we are having only 1% of vehicle and 11% of deaths on road. So that those things, those challenges we have to identify, and accordingly we do not have the number of accidents and deaths are we have, but we do not have a medical facilities. Right now we are struggling to deal with the COVID situation because we do not have a proper medical facilities, and that term and aspect the problem we have. Then we do not have the positive climate. People also do not appreciate the road safety efforts. If government agencies or any people, any organization want to do, they themselves do not understand that what kind of dangers they are facing every day, and they are creating dangers by using roads. If you read the today's one decision by the Maharashtra government, that pedestrian is being liable to follow the pedestrian rule also. So it is a very good decision Maharashtra government today has given. But I have one observation, that if we do not have a pedestrian support facility on road, then what pedestrian should do? So we have to figure out on both ways that pedestrian also follow the rule and they have to be safe on roads while they are using roads. But at the same time, they also have a right to get the access to the safe infrastructure. So we have a lot of challenges to mitigate these kind of regular day-to-day roadside problems. If you can go to the next slide. So to deal with all these problems and to find out the solutions for the recommendation which WHO has made, this is the one graph on which every decade of action 5 pillars is based on, and this is a major graph of road safety management. It is published by the Blaine in 2002, and it is till now it is the best graph we can use in road safety management perspective, and we can understand the problem. So if you see the back the last bottom side of the graph is institutional management, which was the first recommendation of WHO to strengthen or identify and strengthen the lead agency, that who is responsible, its financial, its strategy, its resources, its capacity. Like if you have to find or mitigate the problem, first you have to build a capacity of the concerning stakeholders and give the proper finance and proper strategy. That is the background of whole scenario. And then if you see the middle portion, it deals with the three things: safer roads, safer vehicles, and safer road users. These three are the component of the entire ecosystem, because unless you have a vehicle, unless you have a road, or one driver or one user, manpower must be there to meet an accident. So all three are involved whenever any crash happens. So that is why all if we have to find out the solution, we have to work on all three components. We cannot leave one or two and do only on one part. We have to do on all three parts with while you are working on safety system, and then you get the outcome of basically our outcome is to reduce the deaths and fatalities on roads. That is the major outcome we need. But other than that, we actually, if we work on these three sectors to improve the safety of roads, vehicle, and road users, we actually not only saving lives, but we are working on climate change and other issues. The financial part, the social and economic situation also improve if we work on these three sectors. So next slide. So this is the how to get that last slide diagram, how we can go ahead. The intervention, the focus intervention which can be used is Swiss cheese model. Because I am a road safety practitioner, and I'm doing my research in road safety management. And this model gives me a really very clear idea that if you see the Swiss cheese, like cottage milk product which we eat at Swiss cheese is a very special cheese. It has a holes among that cheese. So if we collect the layers of cheese at one bundle, you can see the hole and you can put up finger or pencil or anything in among that. So it gives you an idea that this in the entire ecosystem, if you want to make a system safe, you have to fill all the holes or all the gaps in the system. So if you want to improve, so that is the case we can taken up in the entire this road crash environment or ecosystem. If we want to improve our road system, we have to identify all the gaps between among the all stakeholders, and we have to do strategize our planning.
Ma'am, you're not audible actually.
So, I'm audible?
Yeah, now you are audible.
Okay. So, we were discussing on the Swiss cheese model. Can you go to the next slide? So this is the, safe system approach, which I didn't derive from that particular triangle so diagram which we were discussing about road safety management. And after 1997 Sweden, when they started Vision Zero, they have come up with this concept that human may make mistake. Human have a tendency to make mistake. We all know to walk safely on stairs, use safely things on the in the kitchen, but still while working we get burn ourselves, and we sometimes slip to the stairs. So that means we every time we know the consequences of the danger, but still sometimes it happens with us. So same thing happened on road also. Though driver is best trained and everything you have given to him, and everybody is using best their as per their own skills, but sometimes they may make mistakes. Sometimes it happened to them, something had anything happened to their vehicle, anything happened to their mind, they may get stressed, or they may lose attention. So that means they may make mistake on roads, but the overall system must be there, that their mistakes cannot be turned out to their deaths or somebody else's death. So that is the concept of the safe system approach, that our system should be improved in that way that it accommodate the mistakes of the drivers or road users on road. So that is why they have developed this safe system principle, in which they have focused on those three areas which I mentioned earlier also: the roads, vehicle, and road user. So they've developed the whole system, developed their policies looking in these three areas in the focus area, and they develop policy. And the major intervention in safe system approach, they use the speed intervention, because through the various evidences we have, I'm going to show to you the graphs also, that why speed is important to take care of. They found that speed is the main culprit of all crashes, and human have a we have a limitation. We can't use 100-kilometer speed limit. You in recent, if you can go, I'm belong to the Rajasthan, and if you have heard about the Maharana Pratap and any warriors we have in our ancient history, like Shivaji and all, and even our gods, they all, whenever they, even Maharana Pratap's jo horse was, his name was Chetak, and he was like known to be highest speeding horse till now. Nobody has beaten his speed. And even the vehicle power, you use horsepower only. So it means horse has a this much of speed intervention himself only, and our all warriors were using horse. But at that time, if you see their costume, they always wear the protective gears. Like for Maharana Pratap, it is there in their museum, that his kavach he used to wear while he was traveling on the Chetak, his horse, it was 80 kg of iron thing. So that means you can understand that how they were so aware about their own protection while using their high speed horses. And now we do not have horse, but we have horsepower vehicles. So we are not using our protection. So that is why the things are getting difficult, and we are dying on roads. So this is the main thing of safe system approach, that human have some limitation, human have tendency to make mistake. So that our system must be so improved, and so taken care of in a safety perspective, whether it is a enforcement, whether it's a safety use of safety gears, whether it is a safe road designing, or whether it's a checking speeding, controlling speeding by putting the speed measure interventions on the road. It must be there that if anybody can make mistake, it can be survived. At least it cannot be turned out to his death or serious or severe disability. So that is the concept of safe system approach. And now everywhere across the globe, everyone is following this approach, because it is a tested approach, and it is given a fruitful results also. Next. So this already, I think people are aware that now, right now, we are running under the second UN Decade of Action, started from this January 2021. Before that, it was first UN Decade of Action was started from 2011 to 2020, in which these 5 pillars have been derived to work upon. And UN has stressed to all member countries to specifically focus on these 5 pillars and drive their own strategy and implementation mechanism focused on this. And these 5 pillars are come from the safe system approach principle, which I have told you. That first is the road safety management. It should be a lead agency must be there. They have plans, they have finance, they are everything. They must have institutional setup. Then safe road, safe vehicle, and safe road user. All 3 ecosystem component must be safe, and all the policies and intervention and enforcement must be done looking to all these 3 sectors. And then of course, to improve the post crash, if anything happened after that also, people should not die because they didn't get the for treatment medical facility. So it should be a part of road safety and should be integrated and taken care of particularly. So this is the all essence of 5 pillars of decade of action, which is globally working. Next. Accordingly, before 2015, now people are asking because we have not reached to the reducing death rate of 50% in first decade of action. So there's a debate, and so many people are disappointed that, oh, after 10 years also we have not achieved anything. My dear friends, I am actually disagree with that, because 10 year in global situation crisis, dealing with this much of crisis, it is a good start, because before 2011 there was no lead agency, there was nobody who owns the responsibility, there was no plan at global level to work upon on road safety. At least in 2011, now member countries had some plan to focus upon, and after 2011 until 2020 in India, like country, in India it's a mass country, we have established road safety cells in all states. At least we have where people at district level do know about these things, and they are being their capacity building is going on. All engineers are getting training to develop the safe roads. Enforcement people are getting their own technical capacity, they are improving, and their institutional capacity is improving. And at least all state governments have their own action plan, they have their funds on road safety, they are working on that. So in last 10 years, if they have taken this much step at the ground level, it is a major, at least road safety management pillar 1 has been successfully achieved, and that is a really a great success. And this slide shows that before 2015 in United Nations development goals, there was nothing about road safety. And we all know that to develop any kind of policy and implementation on ground, all the government agencies are basically working on the development goals. So if there's no road safety is nowhere in the development goals, so that is why the governments have no idea, or their focus was not on the road safety to deal properly. But in 2015, United Nations has put road safety, integrated road safety among their own goals. So that is why now government has to complete has to taken care of road safety in a serious manner. So it's a very big achievement of this decade of action that it is included in global goals. It's target point 3.6, which says that we have to reduce 50% of death rate by 2020. Now it is increased by 2030 due to the second road safety decade of action. And target 11.2 deals with the road infrastructure, that all type of road users must have the proper, sustainable and safe environment on road. So these two are very important interventions which been included in the development goals after 2015. Next. On the basis of this all story which I have told you, these 12 global road safety performance targets are established to deal with and to check our own work, that where we are standing and what we have to do. So these 12 global road safety performance targets are being catching up by the governments and all corporates and all the civil societies to check upon or to deal upon or to demand with the governments also. So this is the basic targets which have to be achieved by 2030, and it covers all 5 pillars interventions, actually major intervention which needs to be done. And if everybody, every national government and every single person who is working on dealing with the road safety adopts or work on these 12 targets, definitely more than 50% deaths can be reduced on the global roads. Next. Why all this safe system approach? Well, I told you earlier also that it's a tested approach and it has given us the result also. This graph shows in the Switzerland that they have almost 90% decrease in death rate by adopting this safe system approach. Next. And in fact, Norway, Oslo, the capital of Norway in 2019 recorded 0 deaths on pedestrian, vulnerable road user and bicyclists on road. So they have actually achieved Vision Zero in 2019 by adopting this safe system approach. And 2 more cities, also Helsinki and 1 more city in Germany, I just forgot that name. 3 cities in 2019 actually achieved the Vision Zero, 0 death on roads. In that particular 1 year. So it gives us the idea that it is achievable if we do specific work on focused on the targets. Next. Now this time what we are running is speed management. So after looking the results which we have achieved, the major intervention was which was followed by those governments and those district areas was the speed management and doing infrastructure enforcement and community mobilization on that one particular aspect. And so that is why globally it is accepted that this is the one major component to be used, intervention to be used and established and implement at the ground level, so that we can achieve the results. And that is why Love 30 Streets for Life for People and Planet is the theme of this global road safety week. Next. So I'll focus on 6 main graphs because people have some problems and say have some assumption and question why 30 speed is important. Is this going to be help, or is it not the proper solution? Is it going to be harm our economy, or is it travel time will increase? So many things they have assumptions. So in 2020, Global Road Safety Facility of World Bank have come up with this document having 6 major graphs which deals with the all answers of this speed management. Why is it important to lower down the speed on our urban streets? Go for next. So first graph says if you increase 1% of speed, resulted 4% of increase in road crash. If we can see in the second term, if we go decrease 10% of speed limit, we can actually get 30% decrease in life deaths. So this is the graph of changing here and there by 5%, 10%, of speed limits, and it come up after several years that lowering down the speed actually improves the road safety scenario and helpful to saving lives on roads. Next. Now graph 2 says why 30, so this most important is why 30 kmph is the safe speed. How come it has derived? So it has derived from the various studies happened after accident happened. So scientific road crash investigation done in among the various countries, and all of them have come up with this one solution that whenever whenever there's a pedestrian zone and there's a if any pedestrian hit by any vehicle of driving at the 30 kilometer or lower the 30 kilometer speed, the survival rate of pedestrian is 90%. So that means the only 10% chances are there for pedestrian to be died. But if that speed increase to the 40%, just from 30 to 40% increases, the survival of percentage is lesser by the 50%. That means by reducing only 10% to come up at the maximum, if you drive 30 kmph on those areas where the mixed traffic is moving, pedestrians, vulnerable cyclists, children and other non-motorized vehicles are there with the high speed vehicles there, that roads must have been the maximum speed limit of 30 kmph, so that and whenever any crash happens due to any mistake done by the any road user made a mistake, but at least if they are driving on 30 kmph, the most hazardous road user, that is pedestrian, because he is totally vulnerable, he is not safe by anything and can get hit by any a small speed. So that also can be saved by 90%. So that is why there is a proven intervention that 30 kmph must be a maximum on those streets where we reside and where the all type of road users are coming together at the same road. So and then you can see that how it changes the impact of the crashes. Next. Now people have the travel cost. Sometimes they have this question that travel time increases, pollution increases, or congestion will increase. So next 3 graphs will give you the idea that it actually helps to it only 5 minutes time difference on an average comes. In Australia they have conducted a very in-depth study on this, that by reducing 5% of like speed from 35 to 30 or 45 to 60 or 60 to to 65, how much time, travel time actually increase or decrease on one particular section. So the average rate, if you can, after this graph, if you go for the, next graph, it gives you the idea. Yes, this table. If you see this table, South Australia, they have tackling the exclusively traveling time, that how much time actually increases. So if you can go to, it's only maximum 5 minutes difference they have recorded on various, roads, on various speeds, on various times. So it means that we do have that assumption that it takes lot of time to, if we reduce down, but it is not actually. By reducing 10 kilometer per hour in your regular speed does not gonna make you, more than 5 minutes difference on an average time. Because while driving, you have, if you are, riding on a high speed, you have to brake every time, but, and you have to sometime, every time you have to brake, it increases the pollution level also. Because as per the Pollution Control Board and Petroleum Conservation, it is very clearly said that if you drive your vehicle on a consistent level without braking every single time, it actually enhances your vehicle quality, vehicle engine quality, reduces the, pollution, reduces the petroleum consumption also. So it gives you the other benefits. You are contributing to reducing and mitigating the air pollution, and preserving the valuable petrol and things like that. And meanwhile, you are also working to save lives on roads as well. And it only costs you 5 minutes difference in your journey time. So that is how it is very relevant. It is only our behavior change and concept, to understand the concept. It doesn't work on your travel time actually. Next. And this graph shows whenever you have a lower speed, it actually reduces the congestion time also, because everybody is going on a same speed. They are not braking everywhere and zip-zag and haphazard, making haphazard situation, that slow vehicle is moving and high vehicle is moving, and they are making, haphazard situation. Is it not going? If everybody is going on a same slow speed, it actually clears the traffic at a very, easy way. Next. And this also give you the benefit cost ratio for various road engineering, which I already told you some intervention, that it gives you the petrol conservation, your vehicle engine, it's going to be very improved. You don't have to go for service. You don't have to invest money to make your vehicle, correct way. So this gives you a maximum benefit ratio. And as well as the government has, saved millions of rupees. As we all know, it only in India, it is 3 to 4% of GDP cost to us. So it's exclusively an economic problem also if people are dying on roads. And then government has to pay for their social costs. Government have to pay for their, health things. And if you see that yesterday, Professor Sandesha Mitra from IIT Kharagpur, she clearly stated that just reducing 10 kmph from 40 to 30 on urban limits, and people start behaving that, so, it travel costs may increase 5%, travel time may increase 5 minutes, but whenever any crash happens, it actually saves you from fatality and from medical costs, from health costs, and from insurance costs. So that cost is, very high if you compare or weigh from the just reducing 10 kmph in your regular practice. Next. And of course, I already told you that it's really very helpful to environment. And in London, I actually, sorry, I didn't mention here one picture I just recently got on Twitter, that for London, who has, applied this 30 kmph across their all streets in London, and since last 10 years, and now they are actually getting air pollution reduced. Their environment is green, now becoming again green. So they actually mitigate their air pollution problem by just reducing speed, just putting this speed intervention program in their roadside. So it is very, beneficial intervention to actually mitigate the emission level as well. Next. So managing speeds give you save lives, important, disability reduces. then reduces GHG emission, which I already told you, reduces other air pollution, increase efficiency of your vehicle. You don't have to stress. You are when you drive in a slow speed, you actually are very calm person while you are driving, because whenever you rush, you actually high speed, you rush, and then you come among the stress, and then distraction happens and accident happens. So everything can be reduced if you just drive your vehicle in a safe speed limit. And it also helps to pedestrian and other vulnerable road users to save on roads. Next. So what this was the global issue, and why Love 30 campaign is taken care of as a major intervention. I tried to explain through the graphs that why it is important. And the maximum speed limit in India, if anybody knows. Okay, next. So this graph shows the speed limit on national highways. We have a different road structure like access highways and national highway, urban limits, rural limits, and we have different kind of vehicles on roads. And accordingly, Government of India has fixed speed limit for the vehicle as per as the road category. So this is the major maximum speed limits fixed by the national government, but local, state, and district governments has this power to reduce more on this, and as per their own local conditions of the roads. So they have that power to reduce that from that maximum speed limit. So we have 120 km/h speed limit on the access control highway, where pedestrian and other vulnerable road users are not allowed to enter. Then only we have 120. Otherwise, on national highways we have 100 km/h speed limit for only for cars. And other than the personal cars, the other taxi cars and all other commercial vehicles, and including two-wheelers, they have a different speed limits on different roads. But one major problem we have with this speed limit, and where I'll ask everyone to come forward to make this roads within municipal limits. That means with the people we are residing in our streets, that have maximum speed limit of 70 in our Government of India, and that has to be reduced by 30. That is the main advocacy we should do, and that is relate with the government global campaign, and there which I showed that why it is necessary to make it 30 in around the our roads. So there we have to work, and we have to ask our agencies, show them the graph and data that we should come to the 30 kmph at municipal limits where we are living. Next. Though one important and one good intervention we do have from since 2017, Government of India has issued one Gazette notification of driving rules, motor vehicle rules and regulations for the drivers to follow on roads while they are driving their vehicles. In that 16 point number 16 deals with the speed of the vehicle, and 16.5 number deals with this one clause, which is a very important intervention we do have right now already as per law, that it nearby the schools, hospitals, construction zones and heavy pedestrian area, it should be restricted to the 25 despite of any vehicle category on any road. So it is a very good intervention passed by the notification by the Government of India, but unfortunately it is not implemented at that level on the ground. So there is a one work to at least with whatever law we have with us, it should be implemented on road, and whatever we do not have, we should advocate for the to make it happen on the road. Next. So the entire situation thing is that we have to change our paradigm shift in road design and road behavior, that roads are not meant for only for vehicles, they are meant for people, and it should be designed and used by all kind of road users and the pedestrians as per their share. If we have a 74% of two-wheelers on roads, why do not we have a proper segregated lanes for them? If we have a more pedestrians on road, why we do not have a proper pedestrian facilities for them? So that is the question we have, and road designs must be designed looking all these things in mind. And at least national highways you can develop as per their standards and their things, but at least the urban cities where more people are resides and travel every single day for 10 or 20 kilometers, it must be focused and looking forward in a people concentration and designed accordingly. Next. So there's a change management approach needs to be happened at every single authority, NGO and community at all level. That change in climate by understanding and accepting the facts and figures and evidences that yes, we are not going to take it further for 70, 80 or 100 kmph. We have to lower it down to the 30 to save pedestrians on roads, because as per the MORTH data, 48% of pedestrians are dying on road or Indian roads. So that is a major category who are dying on roads, and they need protection. And that is why we have to slow down on those areas, on those cities, urban cities, where more pedestrian movement, mixed traffic movement are going on. So, and that is also come to the community also, that they have to also change their behavior while using roads, and they have to be safe on roads. Change in law, I already requested you that we do have one law which should be implemented, and we do need to change one law to make it everywhere a uniform speed. It is not, it actually gives thing that the idea which Mr. Rod King, who's the man behind implementing this 20 mph on London street, he has shared very clearly that if you only focus on the schools, hospitals or black spots and making them safe through putting some engineering designs, you are not going to get the result which actually you want. Because unless the person who's driving from A point to B point, if he drive in a uniform speed, if he knows that he has to be on 30 kmph around the city limits, whether it is a school or whether it is a hospital or whether it's a pedestrian zone or it's his own home or outside office, it doesn't make his a difference. But if you make him confused by making one road is 60 kmph and one road is 25 kmph, and then it gives a confusion among the people, and they don't generally follow the rules, and then you have to put other establishment speed management interventions. So it is better to come with a one uniform lower speed at the entire city, where the entire structure is the same and entire traffic is going to be like Delhi, Jaipur. So city area must be developed under the low speed interventions. So that is why London has get these results, and other cities which I'm talking about, Oslo has get the zero. I visited myself in February 2020 when I was in Stockholm. I myself went to the Oslo and traveled all across the Oslo city from A point to B point and find out, and that was the very the infrastructure is so beautifully designed, that it's so integrated with each other and with slower speeds, that it cannot give you chance to die on road by yourself only. So that means your mistakes are so accommodated in that system, and that is why they have got this result of bringing down to zero death on road. So that is what our thing is, and we should compliance on that. And that was the result which we are expecting. Maybe not 2020, but we are expecting on 2030 or some years ago, but at least we have to start from somewhere. So I rest my presentation here only, and request everyone to please don't wait for government to implement a law. Take a practice in yourself and just slow down on roads where mixed traffic is going on, because we do not need high mobility on urban cities. We need high mobility when we have to travel 50, 100, 200 kilometers. If we have to travel just 10, 20 kilometers every day in our daily routine, it doesn't matter you are traveling on 30 or 40, it just give you 5 minutes difference. So please move on, take habit to drive on 30 kmph, and whenever you get a chance, and if you are engineers and you are able to develop some roads, please follow these rules, safety perspective, looking to all kind of road users who are using that roads, and accordingly design safe roads. So I rest my case here, and thank you very much for listening me patiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this beautiful presentation. And I think everyone has gained a lot of insights from this. So moving forward to the session, I will now open the floor to some questions. First, there will be 2 questions from my side, and then I would take some questions from the audience side also. So the first question will be from my side is like, what are some of the major road safety protocols that have been taken in account by the developed countries, but they are not feasible in India?
So see, majorly the biggest issue with India is the population and resources. These two things other cities or other countries don't have to consider of. So that is the important thing that they have taken care of, but it is not feasible. So that is why everything, that is why I'm asking you, and I've shared that please don't wait for the government. We have to take more than 10 or 15 years to actually reach to that level to bring only one intervention on ground. But as they have infrastructure, very clear safe infrastructure for each and everyone. But in India we are, and right now we are not discussing about the, today only the discussion was occurring for the footpaths only, that if all vendors are sitting on footpath and they are selling their things and they are blocking footpaths also. So some local practical problems we do have with our country, and we have to mitigate those problems. And the solution only the community intervention. When community owns the problem and community wants to change the problem within the whatever limitations you have, we can do that. But right now developed countries may enforce that rule on that, may make up heavy penalties, but those things we cannot think on to implement on our Indian population, because we do not have that kind of earnings and that type of environment. So we have to develop accordingly a local situation. That is why I focused on very specifically that by making 30 kmph only under the municipal limits with the city area, and we can do that. But we cannot think on to implement it at every level, and asking to, and even our national highways, they do not have the population on their national highways, but our national highways actually covered by the villages only. So that they can drive on 120, 150 or 200, but we cannot implement that intervention at our national highways. We have to take care of that also. So but yes, of course, the basic important things which we can derive and we can implement, at least we should implement those things. So the major important implementations, interventions, if we implement on our condition, that makes a very much difference.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So moving forward to the next question. So it would be, what is your view for the cooperation of these between the various stakeholders, the governments, the NGOs, and the private sectors involved in campaigning for the road safety?
Yes, of course, collaboration is the most important part. And as I briefed that WHO has already recommended on the first point that first there was a no cooperation and collaboration among the government authorities itself. So before 2011, no one was the responsible, who owns the responsibility at the government level. Policy makers do not have the collaboration. Until now, we are not even able to develop at the district level. We only achieved at the state level only in 10 years. And some ego problems are also there. Some they have their own things they want to develop at their own level. This human tendency comes to everyone, even in our community also. I don't have any problem to say that road safety NGOs who are working on road safety issues, though they have the same objective to reducing deaths, but somehow there are some problems to come together and doing collaborative. But I want to mention here that we have developed one platform, India Against Road Crash. I think IRC also a member of that, India Against Road Crash, and it is a from last since I think 5 years we are working on that, and it actually brought major stakeholders like SIAM, FICCI, CII, ACMA, and NGOs like us. We all and you, we all are together on that platform, and we are running some specific interventions on those places. Like we did the safe speed challenge, where our 5 drivers have 5 women drivers have practically shown that you don't have to wait for the government to change the scenario. In practical current situation of India, from Kashmir to Punjab border, Kanyakumari, you can drive, if you want to drive with a safe speed, safe distancing, and say following the road safety rules, you can drive safely on a longer distances also. It has been shown in January, February only. And right now I'm running one interview show, which you are aware about, Drive Safer Mission Possible. I just got, and it was the product of the collaboration only, because we have a collaboration on national level as well as with the international NGOs also. So that was a very easy for us to start, immediately on this COVID situation, and it is running very well. And today only I got a email from Mr. Rod King only that he liked this idea and he wants to start at his own level, at the global level, to do some interviews and bring out the best practices of the various organizations to the all people, that so that everybody can learn from each other and implement whatever suits to them at their local situation.
Correct.
Preparation is important. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So now I will take some questions from the attendee side also. So this first question is asked by Mr. Anshu Bambe. So this looks like a very interesting question. So as discussed by you, we should move towards the context of sensitive roads. So what are the main deterrents to move towards this? And does India have any safety manual which is considered while road design? Like in USA, they have a highway safety manual. So,
yeah. So constraint, I already told you that we do not have proper design roads to implement the lane system and speed management system, which are important interventions. In the other developed countries, they have proper lanes, aggregated lanes already for their existing scenario. They have pedestrian zones as well. We do not have that on our roads, and if we do have, it is encroached or it is mismanaged. So that is a main constraint which we have to taken care of. And our population, our community is not very well aware, and they do not know how to use these facilities. And we usually heard that all the trucks and vehicles are standby on the roads, and they do not have proper parking lanes also. So that is a major problem of accident happened on highways when vehicles collided with the stopping vehicle. Secondly, I exactly do not know, but what I know that there is a Indian Road Congress, and they have established their manuals on which all the Indian roads are designed. And they the Indian Road Congress is the main body of Indian government who deals with the road designing of the entire road structure, including highways. So they have their own manuals.
Also, ma'am, this question has a second part also. So again, in the absence of the crash data, how can we develop safety performance function of different roadway elements like signal, roundabouts, channels, etc.?
So currently, yes, of course, we do not have a scientific road crash system in India properly. We do have one or two organizations who are doing work at the very scattered locations. One is owned by the government of India only. It is established in Manesar, and they have units at some Chennai, Gurgaon, and one two more areas also. And one is JP Research. It's a private organization, is doing in 4-5 states with 10 at least I think 10 districts, and they are collecting. One is in Jaipur only. I'm working with them, so I know both of them. I'm working with both organizations, so I know there's one government and one private organization who's working on collecting data and doing research, but it is not very in a good state, because the number of accidents and the collection of the research is very uncomparable to talk upon. But the government of India has come up with one practical application known as iRed, and they are applying in 10 states in pilot project. Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and some other projects. Rajasthan is in that particular thing, and that iRide is integrated road accident database management. It includes, it is up now, working on scenario, and I think after COVID, it is going to be full-fledgedly on action. And that iRide has that all components to collect data of each and every accident reported to the police, and accordingly, it will going to be doing research scientifically, and road engineering problems will be identified from that. But right now we do not have, but Indian government have already working on that, and they are establishing in 10 pilot states. Yes.
Okay. So the last question would be like it was asked from Dr. Maya Tandon. So can we think?
Just hold on. I'll take question. Is there a uniform traffic and road safety rule signs? Yes, what I referred about is motor vehicle rules 16.5, which I was referred. It was a motor vehicle rules and regulations established in 2017 by Government of India through Gazette notification. There is a 40 rules for drivers to be followed on Indian roads, irrespective of state. It is an Indian road and they have to follow all 40 roads, 40 rules. That is a driving rule manual we do have. Yes, go for it.
Yeah. So I would continue. So this question was asked by Dr. Maya Tandon. So can we think of involving the first responders on national highways, as in United Kingdom? They can also help the police stations to help save and transport an injured.
पहले तो मैम वेलकम मैम आई जस्ट वांट टू कन्वे टू ऑडियंस दैट डॉक्टर माया टंडन मैम वाज माय फर्स्ट मेंटर. आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग इन रोड सेफ्टी अंडर हर गाइडेंस इन 2004 and thank you very much ma'am for sharing your time to listen me again. And yes, of course, as I already mentioned in while I was explaining the 5 pillars of decade of action, that 5th pillar is actually talking about the post crash care management, and it is not a separate one, it is an integrated part of road safety. And yes, of course, we need to develop the first aid responders on everywhere, not only on highways but everywhere, every single location we must have to develop the first aid responders. And I think every individual citizen of this country must know the protocols to save lives. It is not the for the government to teach you. It is our own responsibility, because first aid needs to be happened at home also. Anything happen to anyone at any time, so at least basic first aid protocols must be given to the every individual of this country. And even few of our organizations, including Maya ma'am, in India Against Road Crash, we are actually discussing on this model to submit to the Government of India, like COVID guidelines and COVID trainings. We are giving to every single person of this country. We are doing many exercises to train people how to use the mask and help other people. So accordingly, at least 4 or 5 major intervention like CPR, recovery position, and how to handle an accident victim while on accident to transportation, like 3 4 how to stop bleeding. These 4 or 5 protocols must be given as a specific and focused training to every single person of this country. And we can start with police and the people who resides nearby the accident location, which we have done also. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So I would conclude the session here. So thank you, Mrs. Prerna, for sharing your views on such an important issue. It was truly a wonderful and a very insightful session. I hope the audience found this webinar quite beneficial as well. Last but not the least, I would like to conclude today's session by thanking all the participants for their presence. And we hope to see you in the next installment in our quest to make the road safer for each and every citizen of India. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.